I'm Andrea. When I was a child, I don't think I thought much about racism. I certainly knew not to speak disrespectfully to adults, though. And one of my earliest memories is of a family gathering where a really close relative of mine made an extremely disparaging remark about people of another race. And again, I didn't know what racism was, but I knew that what he was saying was wrong. So I spoke up about it and I told him he shouldn't talk that way about other people. He shouldn't talk that way about any human being. Then I remembered that I wasn't supposed to be disrespectful, and I remember being so afraid and thinking that I was really going to get it now. But to my surprise, my mother came to my defense. She rescued me, and she chimed in with more statements of her own, backing up the fact that this kind of language was offensive and not to be tolerated. That memory has really stayed with me. And when I think about my mother being my first teacher about tolerance and about respect for other human beings, I'm so grateful for the way I was raised. And I'm so happy now to have a symbol to express that sort of outlook on the world and outlook on our relationships with other people. It's time for a new tradition.
I'm Keith. I grew up in the city of Philadelphia, though my mother grew up in the South during the height of the Civil Rights Movement. As a junior high and high school student, she had rocks thrown at her at the bus stop just because she was black. In college, though she was shy and somewhat introverted, she didn't shy away from joining one of the most memorable movements during the Civil Rights era, and that was the lunch counter sit-ins in North Carolina. She taught me that regardless of race, no individual is better than another, and that we have the right to be what we want to be and to do what we want to do if we work hard just because we live in this great country. My father used to say that prejudice was a disease, and that if people are prejudiced or they hate you for being who you are, don't get angry. Pray for them, because they're in need of healing. If you're like me, you're tired of turning on the TV and learning of another senseless act of violence spurred on by hate. Trayvon Martin, Michael Brown, the two journalists who were shot in Virginia, we're at that point where enough is enough. And I'm happy right now to be a part of a movement, even though I'm not a flag-waving or a t-shirt wearing type of person, and this is somewhat out of character for me. I joined this and helped create this movement because I see hope for our country if we just have a way to express ourselves, and this is giving us a way to express ourselves. And I think it's time for a new tradition.
Hi, I'm Kim, and I grew up in a household with parents who were as different as you could possibly be. One very tolerant, the other intolerant to the point of scariness. But the beauty of that was that I was able to see many situations from both sides and make my own decision. I learned very early that judging people on a demographic basis by their creed, their color, their gender, it really isn't just harmful, it's ridiculous. Because it cheats the person out of a whole dimension of their life. It's something that I call living life in color. If you live life in color, you never go back to living in black and white, but you just have to open your mind and do it. I became an anthropologist partially because of the way that I was raised and because it gave me the opportunity to answer the questions about why people do what they do and why they feel what they feel. If I were to give any advice at all to people based on what I've learned, it's to open your mind and live in color, and that peace is never going to be possible until we stop looking at each other as different and begin looking at each other in terms of how we're alike. That's what this is all about. TNT Unity is hoping to bring people just a bit closer together, and that's why we need your help. So we hope that you'll join us, and hope you'll agree that it's time for a new tradition.